To save Garrett, who had cancer, I bound myself to a pain transfer system. All the pain in his body would be transferred to me. For 3 years he was vigorous and thriving, his career soared, and he became a rising star admired by all. I, on the other hand, became the wheezing after 2 steps, collapsing in the wind, medicine addict in his eyes. He grew increasingly weary of me, and finally, on the day he secured a $1 billion project, he brought back his white moonlight. Faye, let's break up. I've had enough of your half-dead state. Look at you, all you do is take medicine and lie down. You're like a useless person. I nodded and said softly, okay. Ding. Binding released. 3 years of pain will now be settled. Garrett instantly collapsed to the ground, letting out a piercing scream, his body contorting like a shrimp. A scream that only we could see unfolded before him. Late-stage bone cancer pain for 1,095 days, fully returned. Host Faye, granted all of the target's life force, wishing you good health. The cold, mechanical voice echoed in my mind. The next second, Garrett's handsome face, filled with impatience and disgust, instantly twisted. He fell straight to his knees, his forehead slamming against the floor with a dull thud. A piercing scream, completely unlike anything a human could produce, tore from his throat. He curled up into a ball, like a shrimp thrown into boiling oil, his body convulsing and contorting violently, veins bursting from his neck all the way to his temples. Garrett, what's wrong? Garrett! Stella paled in fright, screaming as she rushed over to help him, but his unconsciously flailing arm knocked her away, causing her to fall to the ground. Get away. Don't touch me. Garrett's eyes were bloodshot, and sweat instantly soaked his expensive custom-made suit. Pain. So much pain. My bones. My bones are going to break. I stood there, watching him coldly. For 3 years, this excruciating pain deep in my bones, every second feeling like countless red-hot steel needles were stirring in the bone crevices, was my daily life. In order not to worry him, I never cried out in pain, but instead bit my lip until it was devoid of color in corners where he couldn't see. And now, I felt lighter than ever before. That cold pain, entrenched in my limbs and bones, that never ceased day or night, receded like the tide. I could even clearly feel a warm, life-filled energy surging into my body. I tried taking a deep breath, and my lungs no longer had a burning, stinging sensation. I flexed my wrist, and my joints no longer made that teeth-grinding crack sound. I was healthy. A ghostly blue screen that only Garrett and I could see slowly unfolded before him. Late-stage bone cancer pain for 1,095 days fully returned. Host Faye, granted all of the target's life force, wishing you good health. Garrett's pupils contracted sharply. He stared intently at the words, then suddenly looked up at me. It's you. Faye, what did you do to me? He squeezed out the words between his teeth, his voice trembling uncontrollably. Stella crawled over, tears welling up in her eyes, and stood in front of Garrett, crying to me. Faye, I know you hate me, hate that Garrett chose me. But how could you use such evil witchcraft to harm him? Stop it. Please. She turned to Garrett, crying with a weeping face like a pear blossom in the rain. Garrett, just endure it. I'll call an ambulance right away. It's all my fault. If I hadn't come back, Faye wouldn't have done something like this out of jealousy. What a pure white lotus, distorting black and white. I looked down at them, one rolling on the ground and wailing, the other hypocritically crying and taking the blame. This scene was more amusing than any comedy. I chuckled and moved my long-missed, powerful ankles. Garrett, this isn't witchcraft, it's science. It's your own cancer cells saying hello to you. Cancer. Cancer cells. Garrett's whole body stiffened, the color draining from his face. You're talking nonsense. I was cured 3 years ago. My physical exam reports are all normal. Yes, everything's normal. Because all your cancer cells, all your pain were transferred to me. Your soaring success and vigor for the past 3 years have all been obtained by stepping on my bones. You're right, I have been like a useless person for the past 3 years. I straightened up and looked around this apartment, decorated by my own hands, but now about to welcome a new owner. Now this useless person is done playing with you. Garrett's brain seemed to crash. He just stared at me, his lips moving, but he couldn't utter a word. Stella was still screaming, "You're crazy. You're a psycho. Garrett is perfectly healthy. You're just jealous." You evil woman. I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them anymore and turned towards the door. Faye. Stop, Garrett roared with all his strength. Explain yourself clearly. What do you mean by transferred? Come back here. I didn't turn back. I opened the door, closed the door, and completely shut out the couple's roars and cries. Walking out of the apartment building, the cool night breeze brushed against my face, but I felt incredibly warm and free. Finally, I was no longer a medicine addict who hurt even when breathing. I didn't go far, but went to the convenience store across the street to buy a can of iced cola. Pulling open the ring, the bubbles rushed out in a hurry. I tilted my head back and took a big gulp, the cold liquid sliding down my throat with a stimulating sweetness. For 3 years, to avoid irritating my fragile body, I had given up all raw, cold, and spicy foods. My menu was even more bland than a monk's in a temple. Garrett always said, Faye, you have to be good for your health. Now that I think about it, it's ironic. The convenience store's glass window faced the entrance of the complex. Before long, an ambulance wailed as it arrived, and then hurriedly left. I guessed that Garrett was probably on his way to the hospital now. The pain of bone cancer is the highest level of pain, a 10 on the scale, comparable to childbirth. And what he was suffering now was 3 years' worth of concentrated, uninterrupted, 10-level pain. I wondered how long his proud ego could last. My phone began to vibrate frantically. It was Garrett's assistant, Reed. I hung up directly and blacklisted him. Next, it was Garrett's mother, Mrs. Garrett. Looking at the number, my thoughts drifted back 4 years. At that time, Garrett was the most disliked illegitimate son of the Fu family. He had just been diagnosed with late-stage bone cancer, and the doctor said that if he didn't undergo painful and expensive chemotherapy, he wouldn't live for more than 6 months. The Fu family abandoned him directly, kicked him out of the house, and cut off all his cards. When I met him, he was being kicked out by the landlord, standing on the side of the road in the rain, holding a cardboard box in a disheveled state. His pale face was devoid of color, his eyes were filled with death. At that time, I was a well-known illustrator, and I had just received a bonus from an international award. Impulsively, I walked over to him and held up an umbrella for him. Are you okay? He looked up, his dark eyes looking at me warily and distantly. Need any help? I asked. He didn't speak, but the hand holding the cardboard box tightened even more. That day, I took him home. He thought I was a scheming swindler full of thorns. I didn't explain, but just cooked for him every day, talked to him, and took him to art exhibitions and concerts. I told him, Garrett, death isn't that scary. What's scary is not living well before you die. One sunny afternoon, he finally opened up to me. He said he had cancer and was going to die soon. He said he didn't want to die so painfully, didn't want to lose all his hair during chemotherapy, and become an ugly monster. That night, I hugged him and listened to him cry silently all night. It was also that night that the pain transfer system found me. Bind Garrett, and transfer all his pain. The cost is your health. Do you accept? I hardly hesitated. I accept. The next day, Garrett's test report came out, and the cancer cells had miraculously disappeared. He was overjoyed and hugged me, spinning around, saying that I was his lucky goddess. Mrs. Garrett also came to the door at that time. She looked at her cured son, then looked at me. Name your price. How much money do you want to leave my son? Garrett was immediately enraged. He stood in front of me. Mom, Faye is not that kind of person. She's the only woman I'll marry in my life. That was the first and only time I received such a firm promise from him. Later, he returned to the Fu Corporation with his outstanding abilities, advanced triumphantly all the way, and eventually became the CEO. And my health deteriorated day by day. At first, he was anxious about me, taking me to hospitals all over the place, searching for famous doctors. But all the test results showed that I was perfectly fine. Gradually, his patience ran out. He began to think I was making a fuss about nothing, being dramatic, and that I was hindering his progress. Until Stella's appearance became the last straw that broke our relationship. Faye, you jinx. Here's $1,000,000 yuan, get out of a city immediately, and never appear in front of Xin Yan again. I slowly finished the last sip of cola, and precisely threw the empty can into the trash can not far away. Then I looked up at Mrs. Garrett. Mrs. Garrett, long time no see, still so fiery. Mrs. Garrett obviously didn't expect me to react like this. She thought I would either apologize meekly like before, or explain with a pale face. She was stunned for a moment, then her anger intensified. How dare you say that? Xin Yan was rushed to the emergency room as soon as he broke up with you. The doctor said he had severe pain all over his body, and couldn't find any reason. Are you the one who caused it, you poisonous woman? I raised an eyebrow. Oh? Rushed to the emergency room after breaking up? Then Mr. Garrett's body is really precious. Can I understand that, Mr. Garrett loves me so much that he's on the verge of death after breaking up? You're talking nonsense. Mrs. Garrett's chest heaved with anger. Xin Yan loves Stella. If you weren't clinging to him, they would have been happily together long ago. Mrs. Garrett, have you forgotten who knelt down and begged me not to leave Garrett back then? Mrs. Garrett's face instantly turned very ugly. That was shortly after the system was bound, and Garrett's recovery caused a great uproar in the Fu family. They consulted countless famous doctors and experts, but could not explain this medical miracle. Finally, they invited a metaphysical master. The master circled around me and Garrett a few times, and finally pointed at me and said, "This young lady is Mr. Garrett's destined benefactor. With her presence, Mr. Garrett will have a smooth life and be immune to all diseases. If she leaves, Mr. Garrett's fortune will be exhausted and he will suffer a backlash, the consequences of which will be unimaginable." From that day on, the Fu family's attitude towards me changed 180 degrees. Mrs. Garrett personally came to my door, took my hand, and changed her usual meanness, tearfully begging me to stay with Garrett. "Faye, it was Auntie's fault before. Auntie apologizes to you. As long as you are willing to stay with Xin Yan, you will be the future mistress of our Fu family." Looking back now, they didn't believe in me, but in the identity of that destined benefactor. Now that Garrett has achieved success and fame, and I have become a medicine addict, they feel that I, this benefactor, have lost my value and can be discarded at will. What's the point of mentioning the past? Mrs. Garrett's eyes darted around, forcefully saving face. Times have changed. You now are just a burden. You will only hinder our Xin Yan. "I'm sorry, Auntie." A soft voice came from behind Mrs. Garrett. Stella walked out with red eyes. "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have let Garrett Gidge break up with Fajia." "Auntie, don't blame Fajia. She's just upset." As she spoke, she pretended to want to take my hand. "Fajia, please say a word to Garrett Gidge. The doctor said he has a strong desire to live, but he can't listen to anyone now, and keeps calling your name. He can't hold on anymore." I moved my hand to avoid her touch. "Really? Didn't he get tired of my half-dead appearance? What's wrong? Now that it's his turn to be half-dead, he remembers me." My words were like a thorn, making Stella's face turn pale. She bit her lip, and tears streamed down, looking extremely aggrieved. "Fajia, how can you say that? Garrett Gidge is just too tired. He doesn't not love you, he just loves your fresh flesh more, and the fame and wealth you can bring him, right?" I interrupted her, mercilessly exposing her. Stella's face turned green and white, unable to speak. Seeing this, Mrs. Garrett immediately protected her behind her, pointed at my nose and scolded. "Faye, don't push your luck. Our Fu family doesn't owe you anything. You've eaten and used the Fu family's things for the past 3 years, that's been enough. Now take the money and get out of here. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." "Impolite? How do you want to be impolite? Like 3 years ago, have someone kidnap me and throw me into the sea?" Mrs. Garrett's pupil shrank sharply. She did this very secretly, and thought it was seamless. I looked at her panicked face and smiled even more brightly. "Don't be nervous, Mrs. Garrett. I have no interest in your Fu family or Garrett now. I'm here just to tell you one thing. Go back and tell Garrett his good days are over." After saying that, I didn't look at her pale face anymore, but walked straight past her, pushed the door open and walked out. A black Bentley was parked at the door. The window rolled down, revealing a handsome but slightly tired face. It was Garrett's nemesis, and another business tycoon in a city, Ronan. He looked at me with a complicated expression. "Get in, I'll give you a ride." I didn't get into Ronan's car. "No need, Mr. Ronan, I'll just take a taxi." I politely and distantly refused. Ronan and I weren't familiar. I had only seen him a few times with Garrett at business banquets. His attitude towards me was always a bit strange. Unlike others, who were either sympathetic or contemptuous, his eyes always carried a kind of exploration and pity. Ronan didn't force it but handed me a business card. "If you need help, call me anytime." I took the business card, nodded, and turned to leave. I need to find a place to settle down as soon as possible, and then plan my new life. After I left, Mrs. Garrett in the convenience store seemed to have been drained of all her strength, slumped in the chair, muttering to herself, "Backlash. What the master said is true. The backlash is coming." Stella supported her, her eyes flickering, not knowing what she was thinking. Hospital, VIP ward. Garrett lay on the bed, covered in tubes, with various monitoring instruments making beeping sounds. Strong painkillers had no effect on him. The excruciating pain that came from the bones made even unconsciousness a luxury. He could only consciously, second by second, feel his body collapsing. "Faye." He squeezed the name from his throat, every word carrying the taste of blood. The words I said before I left echoed repeatedly in his mind. Impossible. This is too absurd. This is unscientific. But if it wasn't true, how would he explain his current situation? And how would he explain Faye's body, which seemed to have recovered overnight? He remembered everything over the past 3 years. Every time he stayed up all night in meetings, and drank heavily for social engagements, he would be full of energy the next day. But Faye would inexplicably catch a cold, have a fever, and have a splitting headache. He won a key project, and had a stomach bleed at the celebration banquet, and was sent to the hospital. But the next day, before he could even feel the pain, he received the news that Faye had been sent to the emergency room because of acute gastroenteritis. He thought they were all coincidences. He thought Faye's body was just so weak and fragile. He even felt annoyed by this, thinking she was a burden, a useless person who only got sick and took medicine. Looking back now, where were those coincidences? It was clearly her, again and again, bearing the pain that should have belonged to him. His heart felt as if it was being gripped tightly by an invisible hand, and Garrett was in so much pain that he almost suffocated. This pain was even worse than the physical torture. "Mr. Garrett." Assistant Reed pushed the door open and came in, his face solemn. "The company's stock price has plummeted all the way since the market opened today, and has already hit the limit. Several directors are demanding an emergency meeting immediately. Also, Ronan of the Lu Group just publicly announced that he is unilaterally terminating cooperation on our star project." "What?" Garrett suddenly opened his eyes. "On what basis?" "The contract has been signed," he said. "He has lost confidence in the future of our Fu Corporation." And he also said, "He has found a new, more reliable partner." Garrett's brain buzzed. The trillion-dollar project was the result of everything he had gambled on, and his greatest asset for securing the position of president of the Fu Corporation. Now Ronan has undermined him, and everything is over. "It's Faye." Garrett gritted his teeth. "It must be related to her." He struggled to get up, but was instantly struck down by the intense pain, and his eyes went black. "My phone." "Get my phone," he roared at Reed. He wanted to call Faye. He wanted to ask clearly. He wanted to order her to change everything back. He couldn't just end up like this. Reed handed him the phone. Garrett's hand trembled as he dialed the number he knew by heart. "The user you have dialed has blacklisted your number." Garrett froze, then slammed his phone on the floor in a fit of rage. Faye, you bitch." He was like a trapped beast, roaring and struggling frantically in his hospital bed. Just then, a nurse rushed in looking flustered. "Mr. Garrett, this is terrible. We just pulled up your medical records from 3 years ago, and Miss Faye's physical examination reports from the past 3 years." The nurse's voice carried a trace of barely perceptible fear. "We found a medical phenomenon that should be absolutely impossible." Garrett's medical record showed that he was diagnosed with terminal bone cancer 3 years ago, with cancer cells spreading throughout his body. But on the second day after the system was bound, all the cancer cells disappeared out of thin air, and all his bodily functions returned to their peak. And my file, a person who was originally healthy enough to run a marathon, has seen a precipitous decline in all physical indicators since 3 years ago. The symptoms that appeared were almost completely consistent with the clinical manifestations of terminal bone cancer. Yet no cancer cells could be found. The two reports placed together were like a carefully designed, perfectly matched horror story. This discovery caused an uproar within the hospital. Garrett was completely silent after hearing the nurse's report. All his luck and self-deception were shattered in the face of the cold, hard medical data. It was true. Faye hadn't lied to him. She had really traded her health for 3 years of his life. This realization plunged him into an icy abyss. And I, completely unaware of all this, didn't care at all. I used the black card that Ronan gave me to book a presidential suite in the most luxurious hotel in the city center. Soaking in the jacuzzi filled with rose petals, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. Although still thin, my complexion had regained its rosy glow, and my eyes were shining with life again. That vitality that radiated from within was something that no expensive cosmetics could fake. I ordered myself a luxurious seafood feast, and opened a bottle of 1982 Lafite. When I had devoured a whole Australian lobster, I almost burst into tears. I hadn't tasted seafood in 3 whole years. Full and satisfied, I lay down on the soft bed and opened my long-dormant laptop. The screen lit up, revealing an illustration I hadn't finished 3 years ago. The painting depicted a girl in a white dress running freely through a field of sunflowers, her skirt fluttering in the wind. That was my dream back then. To become a freelance illustrator, travel the world, and paint all the beautiful scenery. But all of this came to an abrupt end after meeting Garrett. I took a deep breath and clicked on the website of an international illustration competition. This year's theme was New Life. There was no theme more suitable for me. I closed the web page and began to deal with another matter. I made a phone call. Hello, is this Lawyer Finch? This is Faye. Lawyer Finch on the other end of the phone was my senior from university, and now a well-known gold medal lawyer in City A. Faye, long time no see. What can I do for you? Senior, I'd like to hire you to handle a lawsuit for me. I want to get back what's mine. For the past 3 years, Garrett had given me a subcard with no spending limit. He always flaunted his generosity and affection for me in front of outsiders. My girlfriend is in poor health, I can't mistreat her. Faye can buy whatever she likes, can't Garrett afford to support an idler? But what he didn't know was that I had kept detailed records and classifications of every single penny I spent with that card. The largest expenditure was that I anonymously established a Listening Rain special fund, specifically to support talented art students who didn't have the money to continue their studies. And my illustrations had already gained a small reputation in the industry before I met Garrett, and the fees were considerable. All of my income was also invested in this fund. Now Garrett was in trouble, and the Fu family was taking care of itself. I believed that someone would soon come to liquidate Garrett's assets. I had to completely separate this fund from Garrett's property before that happened. That was the result of my efforts alone. And it had nothing to do with Garrett. In the following days, the financial news in City A was dominated by negative news about the Fu Group. Fu Group President Garrett critically ill in hospital, group stock price drops for consecutive days, market value evaporates by hundreds of billions. Billion-dollar Project Starlight plan exposed to be terminated, partner Lu Group seeks new love. Internal turmoil in the Fu Group, board of directors may remove Garrett from the president's position. I sipped my coffee and scrolled through the news, feeling delighted. Lawyer Finch was very efficient, and had already submitted an application to the court for the separation of assets. And I had picked up my paintbrush again. One afternoon, I was looking for inspiration in the Hotel Sky Garden when I received an unexpected phone call. It was Stella. Her voice sounded tired and hoarse, with a hint of sobbing. Sister Faye, can we meet? Please, just once. I originally wanted to hang up directly, but on second thought, I changed my mind. Address. The meeting place was a high-end private club in the city. Stella was already there when I arrived. She was wearing a simple white dress, without makeup, her hair casually styled, with heavy dark circles under her eyes, looking haggard and pitiful. As soon as she saw me, her eyes turned red. Sister Faye, you're finally willing to see me. I didn't say anything and sat down opposite her. Sister Faye, I know you hate me and you hate Brother Garrett. She bit her lip, and tears fell as she spoke. But, even if we were wrong, you can't just stand by and watch him die. Brother Garrett is dying. The doctors said his organs are failing all over his body, but they can't find the cause. He calls your name every day, he says. He says he was wrong. He begs you to forgive him. As she spoke, she took out a document from her bag and pushed it in front of me. This is what Brother Garrett asked me to give you. It's the equity transfer agreement for 20% of the Fu Group. He said, as long as you are willing to come back, willing to save him, he is willing to give you everything he owns. I picked up the document and flipped through it casually. The current stock price of the Fu Group had plummeted. This 20% equity looked tempting, but in reality, it was a hot potato attached with huge debts. Garrett was trying to exchange an empty shell for his life. He really knew how to calculate. Sister Faye, Stella saw that I didn't speak and added fuel to the fire. I know that this can't make up for what you've suffered. But Brother Garrett really knows he was wrong. He is living in pain and regret every day now. Just take pity on him, okay? Stella. A stern voice came from the door, and a middle-aged man in a suit walked in quickly. It was Stella's father. Behind him was also an elderly man with a goatee, who looked like a Taoist. Mr. Davies looked at Stella with disapproval. What are you talking to her for? She is a jinx. Why are you begging her? He turned to me, his eyes arrogant and contemptuous. Faye, I don't care what kind of evil art you used, undo it immediately. Otherwise, I will make you disappear completely in City A. I understood. Stella was playing the good cop, and her father was playing the bad cop. One was pretending to be pitiful to gain sympathy, and the other was threatening me with harsh words. What a wonderful act of father-daughter affection. And the master beside them, from the moment he entered the door, had never taken his cloudy eyes off me, and was still chanting something under his breath. I watched their clumsy performance with great interest. Oh, how does Mr. Davies plan to make me disappear? You, Mr. Davies was angered by my attitude. Master Zane, can you see it? What's so strange about her? That Master Zane stroked his beard, looking profound and unpredictable. There is indeed something unusual about this woman. But it is not evil, but rather immeasurably noble. He changed the subject and looked at Mr. Davies. Mr. Davies, although your daughter has an appearance of wealth and nobility, she is incompatible with Mr. Garrett's horoscope. Forcing them to be together will only lead to mutual destruction. And this Ms. Faye is Mr. Garrett's destined person. Mr. Davies and Stella's faces instantly turned extremely ugly. This Master Zane was the one who said I was Garrett's destined benefactor 3 years ago. It seemed that the Sue family and daughter wanted to repeat their old tricks, find a master to pin the label of evil on me, and force me to submit. Unfortunately, they chose the wrong person. Master Zane was obviously a clever man. He saw through the current situation at a glance. Garrett's downfall was only a matter of time, and I, the medicine-drained puppet Garrett had abandoned, had not only recovered my health, but also gotten on Ronan's good side. Comparing the two, it was clear which side to stand on. Master Zane, what nonsense are you spouting? Mr. Davies exclaimed, furious. Didn't you say before that my daughter and Garrett were a match made in heaven? That was then, this is now. Heaven's secrets cannot be revealed, much less forced. Mr. Davies, take care of yourself. With that, he actually gave me a slight bow and turned to leave. This completely disrupted the Sue family's plans. Stella's face alternated between green and white. She probably hadn't expected that the person she'd invited to hold down the fort would defect on the spot. Faye, what kind of sweet talk did you feed him? Stella finally dropped her pretense, pointing at me and screeching. You bitch! May you die a horrible death. I picked up the teacup in front of me and gently blew on the steam. Miss Sue, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. You invited the master, who said I was your benefactor, so why are you blaming me instead? Or why don't you chase after him now and in front of everyone call that Master Zane a swindler and a charlatan? Wouldn't that prove that everything he said was false? These words accurately triggered Stella's rebellious and arrogant nature. Blinded by anger, She rushed out without thinking. You stop right there. You old fraud. Stella's screams and curses echoed in the hallway of the clubhouse. Mr. Davies' face changed drastically. He wanted to stop her, but it was already too late. The spectacle attracted a lot of onlookers. Stella, like a shrew, grabbed and hit Master Zane, spewing foul language, completely exposing her usually carefully constructed socialite image. Mr. Davies tried to make a perfunctory correction, pulling her and saying, Stella, stop making a scene. But in the end he couldn't overrule his daughter and could only let her go crazy, exposing his indulgence of his daughter and his poor judgment to everyone. I sat back comfortably, enjoying the spectacle. Miss Faye, long time no see. Ronan appeared beside me, sitting down in the seat opposite me. He was wearing a dark gray bespoke suit today, which made him even more upright and heroic. Is Mr. Ronan very free today? I put down my teacup. Not exactly free. His gaze swept over the chaos in the hallway, his eyes filled with a hint of mockery. Just here to watch a joke. He paused, looked at me, his gaze burning. And by the way, to discuss a business deal with you. Business? Yes. Ronan leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. I know what you want. I can help you. Not only can you get back the foundation that belongs to you, but you can also get more. What's the condition? I asked. Be my partner. Ronan said, Garrett doesn't have the ability to complete the Starlight Project, but you and I, working together, can. The Starlight Project was a plan that Garrett and I had spent countless sleepless nights creating, and it was filled with a lot of my hard work. Garrett only saw the commercial value in it, while I, on the other hand, valued its social significance even more. I was indeed unwilling to let it die prematurely. How can I trust you? I looked at him. Ronan smiled, took something out of his pocket, placed it on the table, and pushed it towards me. It was a small sunflower petal specimen keychain, a handicraft I made during my university years, which was later sold at a charity event. I bought this. Ronan said, Faye, I've been watching you for a long time. His eyes were sincere and ardent, carrying something I had never seen in Garrett's eyes, something called admiration. The spectacle in the hallway finally ended with the intervention of the clubhouse security. Mr. Davies, in order to salvage the situation, decided to offer a high-value compensatory gift, an ancient painting said to be a genuine masterpiece, in order to appease the anger of several important guests who had been harassed by his daughter. However, when he opened the scroll, everyone was stunned. Inside the scroll, there was no famous masterpiece at all, but a scribbled crayon drawing made by a child, with the words "Dad is stupid" written on it. At the crucial moment, everyone discovered that the high-value ancient painting had long been accidentally damaged by Stella's ignorant nephew and replaced with this cheap and insulting substitute. And Stella, still oblivious to the gravity of the situation, ran over to claim credit. Dad, look, this is painted by Xiaobao. Isn't it more creative than those old antiques? I think this is better. She seemed to really think that her remedial measure was effective, even superior. This last straw broke the camel's back, causing the several guests who were already dissatisfied to completely terminate the meeting with an extremely disgusted and angry attitude. Mr. Davies' face was as black as the bottom of a pot. The Su family's drama quickly spread throughout the upper circles of City A. The stock price of the Su group fell in response, and Mr. Davies was in a state of utter chaos. After the disaster, Mr. Davies' first reaction was not to try to win back those guests who had been angered, but to prioritize comforting his weeping darling daughter Stella, muttering, Stella, don't cry, it's all Faye's fault, she's the one who harmed us. This reversed priority, this taken-for-granted shifting of responsibility, made me gasp in admiration. I ignored them and seized the opportunity of this chaos to decisively intercept Ronan, who was preparing to leave. Mr. Ronan, I agree to your proposal just now. I positioned myself as the only reliable actor in the field and, based on my backup plans, proposed immediate remedial measures. The core of the Starlight Project is new energy technology. The technology in Garrett's hands is actually just the primary version from 3 years ago. For the past 3 years, I have been doing follow-up theoretical deductions and upgrades. I have a complete 2.0 version plan. A hint of surprise flashed in Ronan's eyes, which quickly turned to understanding. I knew you wouldn't be so simple. Garrett owns you, but treats you like a vase. He's the stupidest man I've ever met. By successfully executing my backup plan, I not only saved the core goal of the Starlight Project, but also established direct personal trust with Ronan, this important third party. This success will only belong to me personally, and will no longer be related to Garrett or the Fu family in any way. Ronan and I talked about the details of the cooperation in the clubhouse's VIP room until late at night. Meanwhile, on the other side, in Garrett's hospital room, another good show was unfolding. Stella ran back to the hospital crying, and threw herself on Garrett's bed. Garrett Gidge. It's all Faye's fault. She bribed that Master Zane, and they ganged up to bully me. My dad's company is about to be ruined because of her. Well, Garrett, listening to Stella's rambling sobs, only felt a splitting headache. He couldn't even protect himself now, let alone worry about the Sue family's life or death. One thing filled his mind: to bring Faye back, to let him live. He used the last of his strength to grab his mother, who had come to visit him. Mom. Go find Faye. Beg her to come back. Mrs. Garrett was in tears. My son, Mama's already gone, that bitch she won't. She's climbed onto Ronan now and doesn't put us in her eyes at all. Then hold a press conference. A flash of crazy ruthlessness flashed in Garrett's eyes. Say that she stole the core technology of the Starlight Project. Sue her for commercial theft. Make her lose all her reputation. Let's see how she cooperates with Ronan. He thought that as long as he ruined me, Ronan would give up on me, and I, with no other way out, would have no choice but to come back and beg him. How naive and ridiculous. The next day, while I was in a meeting with Ronan's legal team, I saw the Fu Group's announcement of a press conference. The Fu Group will hold a press conference on the leakage of the core technology of the Starlight Project, and will pursue the legal responsibility of those involved. The spearhead was directed at me. Ronan's chief lawyer looked grave. Ms. Faye, the Fu Group is going to break the net. Once the crime of commercial theft is established, the consequences will be very serious. I laughed. Don't worry, he won't wait to hold the press conference. I called Lawyer Finch. Senior, you can start. Half an hour later, just before the Fu Group's press conference was about to begin, a shocking piece of news instantly exploded across the entire internet through various media platforms. Shocking scandal. Fu Group CEO Garrett exposed for long-term use of PUA tactics to exploit and abuse his girlfriend Faye, and maliciously embezzle her personal multi-million-dollar art fund. The news also included surveillance videos of Mrs. Garrett smashing me with a check and Mr. Davies threatening me, as well as screenshots of Garrett's chat records over the past 3 years, in which he verbally demeaned and mentally controlled me. Most importantly, Lawyer Finch presented all the spending details of my supplementary card. Every transaction clearly flowed to the Listening Rain Foundation, and the foundation then funded dozens of impoverished art students. And Garrett, in an interview, smiled contemptuously at the camera and said, "My girlfriend? What career can she have? Her biggest career is learning how to spend my money." The evidence was irrefutable. The public opinion instantly reversed. Garrett's press conference became a joke. He wanted to ruin my reputation, but instead he completely turned himself into a world-class scumbag who relied on PUAing his girlfriend and embezzling her property to embellish himself. The public opinion on the internet completely exploded. Hashtag Garrett PUA hashtag. Hashtag Garrett embezzled girlfriend's property hashtag. Hashtag world-class scumbag Garrett hashtag. One hot topic after another dominated the search rankings on all social platforms. Netizens who had previously felt sympathy for him instantly turned against him after seeing the shocking chat records and video evidence. Holy crap. This guy is too disgusting. Spending his girlfriend's money to build a persona for himself, while calling his girlfriend useless. Faye is too miserable, bled dry for 3 years, looked down upon when she was sick, and smeared after the breakup. That Stella isn't a good thing either, calling Faye older sister one moment, and then threatening her with her dad the next, a green tea bitch through and through. HTML. Head title 504 gateway timeout / title / head. Body. Center 1504 gateway timeout / h1 / center. Her centering / center. html. I don't like collecting worthless things. Having said that, I didn't look at his instantly pale face, turned around and walked into the dazzling exhibition hall with Ronan. Later, I heard a vague rumor that Garrett had completely gone mad and was sent to a mental hospital. As for Stella, some said that to pay off her father's debts, she married a coal mine owner with peculiar fetishes and lived a life worse than death. Those who had once hurt me all received the endings they deserved. And I too had my own brilliant new beginning,